might be asking yourself, why is this lady dressed like a cave woman today? I promise you it's going to make sense by the end of this talk, which is all about understanding the differences between the male and female brain and our survival instincts. Also, we can create juicy, loving, respectful partnerships without all of the misunderstandings. So today I'm going to be giving you some actionable tools that you can implement, as well as my #1 piece of relationship advice. And buckle up, we're gonna get going, we're gonna move fast here. If you've ever found yourself mystified by the opposite sex, you're not alone. It's human nature to think that what is obvious to us is obvious to everyone, right? Not true, especially when we're talking about the male or female brain. The male and female brain structure are so different, as well as our survival instincts. I like to compare us to like fish and birds. A fish will never know what it's like to fly high in the sky. Birds will never know what it's like to breathe underwater. We are that different. Now, modern day, most of us know that in the US, the divorce rate for first marriages is about 50%. So you'd think we'd get it right the second time around, or the third. It's not true. According to a 2023 study on Forbes.com, 67% of second marriages and 73% of third marriages end in divorce. Now, I'm not able to solve all of our relationship issues today. However, I can give you some foundational information that will clue you in as to how men and women think so differently and why we behave so differently. I had to learn this the hard way. I was 40 years old, and I was going through yet another breakup. I knew that was my last chance to have children. I had spent an entire decade in having short, failed, painful relationships. When I say short, I mean 3 or 4 months, and then I would just decide he's not the right guy for me. I'd break up with him, usually blindsiding him. He didn't even know anything was wrong. I was not good at communicating what my needs were back then. I didn't even know what my needs were. I noticed another pattern that happened over that decade. I was consistently becoming the masculine or the mommy in my romantic relationships with men. And I didn't want to be either of those things. At that time in my life, I felt pretty hopeless. I felt like I was a failure. I was at my lowest point when I met my mentor, who's a relationship expert. She taught me all about how differently men think, how to understand their behavior, and I took those tools into my dating life, newly single again. I put those tools to work, and my very next relationship was with my husband. And we're about to celebrate 8 years together. Pretty big deal for the queen of the 4-month relationship, right? Today I have 2 amazing stepkids, and I'm able to show other people how I went from hot mess to happily ever after. Now, this work is based on over 30 years of research interviews with men and women, tens and thousands of them. The male brain and the female brain have different superpowers. The male brain superpower we call single focus. Because of men's higher testosterone levels, they are able to completely and deeply focus on one thing at a time. Now, men usually need transition time to be respected so they can shift their single focus superpower from one task to the next. Men, is that right? Yeah. The female brain has a different superpower. It's called diffuse awareness. So to diffuse means to pour in every direction, and that is what happens with our attention. Because of our lower testosterone levels and higher estrogen levels, most women say that they can easily multitask. In fact, ladies, we can't help it, right? We can't help, because of our diffuse awareness, we can't help but notice the socks that are still on the floor and the pillows that need to be straightened. We think about the email that we forgot to send yesterday and the phone call we need to make by the end of the day and the doctor's appointment tomorrow morning. And did I remember to tell my boss that I'm going to be late for work? Ladies, sound familiar? Yeah. I tell my husband it's like I have 100 channels running 24/7 in my brain. This is our diffuse awareness superpower. Now, I hope you're seeing this isn't about right or wrong, good or bad, right? Men and women are just biologically so different. We need to stop having invisible expectations that they're going to behave like us and vice versa. Because ladies, men are just as confused about our behavior as we are about theirs. Yes? My passion is helping people to understand and honor our differences instead of making each other wrong for it. Promise you that soon you will understand the cave woman outfit. The next thing we're going to talk about is the duality of human normal and human spirit. Human normal is when we're in that state. We all have it. It's based on survival. It's our survival instincts. We all have the same needs for food, shelter, and protection. We haven't not outgrown those things. We know that we're in the state of human normal when we feel the tension rising in our body. Maybe we're holding our breath or biting our tongue. We're perceiving, or our brain is perceiving, some sort of a survival threat. That's when you can tell you're in human normal. Now, maybe someone is doing or saying something that you don't like. Maybe somebody loaded the dishwasher wrong. Maybe they folded the towels wrong and now they won't fit in the spot. So even though we're not in danger, this human normal tension is rising in our body. And so when this happens, I invite you to shift yourself into human spirit, to stop yourself before reacting, because no one's in danger. When we are coming from human spirit, that is the realm of empowerment. That is where art, beauty, philanthropy, and genuine curiosity live. How do we shift from human normal to human spirit? There's a couple of different ways I like. You can choose what works for you. Before you respond or react to anything, take a few deep breaths. You can count to 10 silently. Take a drink of water. Or if you need to, just walk out of the room. The goal is to remind yourself no one's going to die here, okay? If someone does load the dishwasher wrong, hug or a kiss and say, "Thanks so much for doing that, honey," and walk out of the room if that's what you need to do. If instead we were to rearrange those dishes in front of them, even without saying a word, what does that communicate? Communicates you did it wrong. You're not competent. You're not capable. I'm right. You're wrong. Without a word being said. Instead, if we can appreciate their efforts, appreciate what they've done, they're going to be more and more willing to do more for us, right? The key is to not make them wrong for it. This is the win-win when it comes to our relationships. With our over 30 years of research interviews with men, they have told us that this type of interaction is very emasculating to them. So ladies, I invite you, when you are in that place of human spirit and you can come from genuine curiosity, have conversations with your men. Ask them what to them comes across as disrespectful or emasculating. You'll be shocked at the answers. I know I was. So by now, I hope that you can see that these concepts work not only with our honey, not only with our kids, but in the workplace as well, right? This next concept you'll recognize in all of our human relationships. So imagine this. You're going to the grocery store, you've got 3 items on your list, and you've got 10 minutes to get in and out. You need to get in, get the first item. You're going to be super impatient if anyone's standing in front of you or slowing you down. You finally find the second item. Maybe you have to just forget about the third item. You go to the shortest line at the checkout and you pray that it is the fastest. Right? Has anyone experienced this? You're in what we call hunting mode. You have a result to produce, you are focused on producing that result, and you have a time constraint. That puts us into hunting mode. Now this could be a work deadline, this could be a personal project, this could be getting dinner on the table before soccer practice. Hunting mode is all about producing a result, a high level of focus, the clock is ticking, and you're going to be frustrated with any interruptions that seem irrelevant to the result you want to produce. We've all experienced this, yes? Gathering mode, on the other hand, is all about connection. There's no result to produce. There's no time limit. At the grocery store, it's when you have plenty of time and you can walk up and down all of the aisles and just see what's new, what's interesting, what's different. Because when we're in gathering mode, we're open to options and possibilities and alternatives. We might be, as we walk, we're walking at a relaxed pace, we're making eye contact and smiling, maybe starting conversations. Again, there's no time constraint in gathering mode. It's like when you're at Sunday brunch with your friends and you're just catching up and you've got all the time in the world. No agenda, nothing to accomplish. Taking the scenic route while you're driving, that's gathering mode because you've got plenty of time. If you're in hunting mode and you're running late and you're driving, you drive a little faster, be a little more aggressive, right? Can you feel the difference between hunting mode and gathering mode? Yeah. The purpose of gathering mode is connection, and the purpose of hunting mode is producing a result. Both of them help us to feel safe and help us to calm down that human normal survival instinct. Just depends on what we're focused on at that time. Most men are in hunting mode most of the time. That changes a little bit after about the age of 50. Again, it has to do with the testosterone. Women go back and forth between hunting mode and gathering mode all the time. And what makes us do that switch is that time constraint. Can you see the conflict when one person wants to connect and the other person has a result that they're focused on producing, right? That conflict happens at home or at work. So why do we call it hunting mode and gathering mode? Now I will tell you why I'm dressed like a cave woman today, because I want you to remember this. Back in the day of the cave people, we lived together in groups for survival. The men had 2 jobs. They were the hunters and the warriors. And ladies, it's not sexist. They just have 10 to 32 times the testosterone that we do. It's just biology, okay? They had 2 jobs. They had to protect the tribe and they had to feed the tribe. If something got in the way of them producing that result, people died. Do you see the connection to the survival instincts? Even though modern day, it's very different. That's where the instinct comes from. Now the women, with our diffuse awareness, we were the gatherers. We had lots of jobs. We had to go out into the meadow and collect the firewood and the berries and the medicinal herbs. We had to watch the cave kids. We had to notice, is there a tiger hiding there in the grass? That was our diffuse awareness. We had to notice everything. Our survival depended on it. We also have seen that the female brain developed another survival instinct called pleasing or avoiding displeasing. Because think about it, back in the day, if I were to upset someone in the tribe and get kicked out, that would pretty much be a death sentence. I would have to find or build my own shelter. I'd have to hunt or forage all of my own food. It was a life and death. So the female brain developed this pattern of pleasing. Have you ever, modern day, heard somebody say that they're a people pleaser? Yeah. Good news, ladies. Our survival does not depend on pleasing everyone today. We don't need to do that anymore. Now I'm going to share with you my #1 piece of relationship advice. We talked about it a little bit earlier with the dishwasher example. Replace criticism with appreciation. Replace criticism with appreciation. Especially with those closest to us, we can bring out the worst in them or we can bring out the best in them. Just with these little changes, just making these changes. Just like I did when I went from hot mess to happily ever after. I invite you to make these changes, try these tools in your relationships, and see how they change.